When your family's in need of medical care, where should you turn? Come to Englewood Hospital, home of the most advanced technologies and medical equipment. Home to Magnet Award-winning nurses who deliver compassionate professional care. And home to more top-rated doctors than any other hospital in North Jersey. For your family's health, come to Englewood Hospital. We're closer than you think.
Welcome to Dr. Gore's show. Today's topic is healthy lifestyle through plant-based diet. To understand this topic, you have to listen to the whole show. And to enlighten us on this topic, we have Dr. Moise Kasubai with us. Welcome to Dr. Gore's show.
Thank you, Dr. Gore, and I look forward for a very exciting discussion and why this diet is so very important for making us more healthy.
Great. Dr. Kasubai started his career in medicine in India. He went and did his residency in India in internal medicine. Then he went to UK, did his residency and his MRCP, and then he came to New York City, did his training, and he's been in New York City since 98, and he's been Vice Chair of Department of Medicine and Chief Hospitalist in New York City. So what is a plant-based diet?
So simply put it, it's a diet that we should be having for eons, really. It consists of not having meat, it consists of not having any dairy or dairy products, and as little oil as possible. Another way to put it, you should have a lot of salads, lots of fruits, lots of vegetables, and you can have as much as you want. And really, with plant-based diet, there is no calorie counting. I just repeat again, there is no calorie counting with plant-based diet. You can eat as many fruits and vegetables as you can, and you will actually lose weight and become much more healthy. And you may even reverse many of the chronic diseases like diabetes if you have any.
Wow, so that sounds very interesting. Now, do the people ask you a question? Is it same as vegan diet? How does it differ from, other fads that everybody has? Fat diet, low carb diet, all those different variety of diets we have.
Absolutely, Dr. Gore. I mean, there is a lot of misinformation for all the diets that are available right now. I mean, low carb, what does it really mean? High fat diet, like the Atkins diet, what does it really mean? And I must just define plant-based diet. I mean, it is a vegan diet to a large extent, where you do not have dairy products, you do not have meat, but plant-based also suggests that you should not be having a lot of oil. Oil, as you know, is 100% fat, and fat causes your arteries to clog up and cause heart disease and strokes, etc. Now, this low-carb diet, which is sort of prevalent everywhere, and many people follow it, suggests that you should be having less amount of grains, less amount of fruits, less amount of vegetables. And this actually causes you to have more amount of proteins and more amount of fat as a substitute to having low-carb diet. And when you have a large amount of proteins, it actually causes inflammation in your vessels. It causes diabetes. It causes heart disease. If you have more fat, you again cause more amount of chronic diseases like heart disease and diabetes. So low-carb diet is actually a no-no. What I suggest, I definitely tell you not to have any refined carbohydrates.
Correct.
Now, refined carbohydrates are like white flour, white bread, white rice, white pasta. Hey, you can go ahead and have brown pasta as much as you want. You can go and have brown rice as much as you want, or brown wheat as much as you want. And you can also get basmati, which is a whole grain basmati, really. Grain is good, but when you refine it, that's where the damage happens. Now, the low-carb diets say, you do not have refined carbohydrates, but what I'm saying is, don't have refined carbohydrates, but have the unrefined, which is what is present in your fruits and vegetables in a natural state. Once you refine it, when you go through the process of going through factory and packaging and adding chemicals, that's what actually endangers your health, and that hurts you a lot.
Correct. So, how does this idea of plant-based diet came about? Because, scientifically looking, we always look for some studies, some big, epidemiological studies which are done. Is there anything to back up this theory of plant-based diet and how it improves the survival?
Absolutely, Dr. Gore. I mean, there is a long history. And very, very interesting fact is, there was two Indian scientists from Hyderabad by the name of Gopalan and Madhavan. In 1968, they published a paper in not a very famous Indian journal where they gave high amount of proteins to rats. Well, let me go back a little bit. They gave aflatoxin, which is a carcinogen, to give it to the rats, and the rats got cancer, liver cancer from that. Now, those rats, they gave 20% proteins and they gave 5% proteins. Now, the 20% proteins caused the cancer to grow and eventually the rats died. When they gave 5% proteins, the cancer actually disappeared and none of the rats had any cancer. Now, this was caught up by a very intelligent nutritionist from Cornell University by the name of Dr. Colin Campbell. When he went to Philippines, he noticed the same thing, where the rich Filipinos were dying of liver cancer, while the poor Filipinos were actually healthier. They were maybe dying of malnutrition, infectious disease, but not dying of cancer. And he did his own studies on rats, and he found that if you give high protein diet, you can cause cancer, and you can actually promote cancer. And that's where his ideas came about, that the proteins that we're having, and specifically it's the animal protein, it's not the plant protein, it's the animal protein. You're talking of dairy, you're talking of meat, beef, you're talking of poultry, you're talking of eggs. These are the animal protein which actually promotes cancer. And in milk you have casein. Casein is the cause of promoting cancer, such as breast cancer. And what we have seen epidemiologically, that the more milk you have, the more likely to have breast cancer. You're more likely to have prostate cancer. The more fat you have, you're more likely to have breast cancer. So there are epidemiological correlations. Now, he went about going and doing a study called, which is very famously known as the China study, and for which he has written a book called by the same name. And I repeat, his name is Dr. Colin Campbell, and it's a must-read if you really want to understand what plant-based diet is all about. And he noticed that in China and in the rural communities where they had very little amount of meat, very little amount of very little amount of meat or dairy products, they did not, and repeat, they did not have diabetes. They did not have heart disease. There were very, very, very few heart attacks. They did not have strokes. They lived longer. They were stronger. They worked till very late in their life. And they actually were very lean, and very few people were actually obese. Come to America, where you have excessive animal protein. Everybody is eating, coming back from the last century to this century, we're eating about double amount of beef. We're eating about 6 or 7 times more of chicken over the last 100 years. We're eating about 6 or 7 times more of cheese or dairy products over the last 100 years. And what we've seen is an explosion of epidemics of obesity, which now affects 1/3 of the American population. I repeat, 1/3 of the American population now is obese. 10% of the American population is diabetic. Now, this just a few decades ago, it was less than 5%. Just because we're eating much more of this diet, we have more diabetes, more heart disease, and of course, when you have diabetes, it has its complications. You can get ulcerations, you can get neurological deficits, etc. So
kidney failures,
etc. Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So, just listening, and especially with the Indian culture, milk is so important. Growing up, we tell our kids to drink milk. Our parents told us drink milk. Otherwise, so why milk is such a bad thing, apart from the casein and the animal products? But the common question asked would be, how will we get our calcium? So if you're not having your yogurt and your dairy products, even eggs, where are we going to get our calcium from? And also, especially vegetarians, they most likely don't eat any other animal protein than milk and eggs sometimes. What do we tell those patients?
Absolutely. It's a great question, and this is what I thought about it. This is what everybody thought, that you're going to get your calcium, you're going to get your proteins from milk, okay? Now, if you look at, again, epidemiological studies, and you find the countries that have the maximum amount of dairy consumption have also the highest amount of osteoporosis, leading to fracture. So what this milk actually does, which is an acid medium, and when you drink it, your blood becomes a little more acidic. And to make the blood less acidic, they have to pull in an alkali. So you have acid, you have alkali, and where does the alkali come from? It's from the calcium in the bones. So the more milk you have, more likely to get osteoporosis. Now, the myth that milk has, or dairy products, for instance, has more calcium is just what it is. It's a myth. There is more calcium in beans. There's more calcium in lentils, in broccoli, in your green leafy vegetables, including fruits have more calcium. And if you have enough of fruits and vegetables every day, you get enough of calcium. You really do not need any supplementation calcium. I mean, you get these calcium supplements everywhere. You really do not require it right now if you're having enough vegetables and fruits. So you can get enough calcium. The second question was, what about proteins? Right? Yes, you're vegetarian. It's always thought that proteins is meat, proteins is eggs, and if you're not going to have this, where are you going to get your proteins from? Again, let's go back. You get the beans, the legumes, the green leafy vegetables have so much more protein, and it's a good protein, the protein that does not cause any diseases. And as I was saying about this proteins that casein which caused cancer, etc., they did the same experiment with wheat protein, with soy protein.
Okay.
Now, these proteins did not cause cancer. It was the casein, which is found, which is the milk protein which caused cancer. So yes, you have enough alternative sources of calcium, of proteins in a normal vegetarian or vegan diet, much more than you actually require to.
Right. So it is really hard to sometimes digest these thoughts, because the traditional teaching is you have to take your protein to lose weight, you have to cut down on your fatty diet, but you have to increase the amount of protein to make up for. So I think it's going to take a long time for people to change their lifestyle to kind of adapt this diet and put it in real life, because a lot of things that we eat and do is very hard to find food without any dairy, without any oil, without any protein. So it's a nice thought that everybody has to kind of cultivate in their habits to do. But I'm glad there are studies which have proven that yes, we don't need this extra calcium and stuff. Coming to the other question that people will have, that how much amount of protein do we need, and how much amount of fruits and vegetables? As you said, there's no limit to it, because you don't need to count calories for this. But is there amount of protein that one should take it, and how many helpings of legumes or lentils would you suggest in a day?
It's a very good question. I mean, the whole idea of having plant-based diet is not to count the calories, is not to count how much of carbohydrates you're taking, how much of fat you're taking, how much of protein you're taking. Frankly, I don't think any physician or even a nutritionist will able to look at a plate and decide, I think this has so many carbohydrates and so forth, so on. It's a very difficult task. And how do you expect a layman to do that? So the idea here is, if you have a lot of vegetables, and what I suggest always is start your meal with a salad. Have as much salad as you want. It fills your stomach up, right? And you don't really feel like eating anything else after that. Or even if you want to have a dessert, yes, you can have, but you will not have a lot of it because you've had a lot of salad. If you have beans, if you have brown rice, or you have brown pasta, there is no amount that you should restrict yourself from having. Because when you have the salad, you will fill your stomach. You will feel the satiety. Your hunger will go away when you have so much of salads. And what you can do to make the salad more palatable, you can add lemon juice, which has very little calories. You can add nuts inside. You can add fruits inside. I would suggest you should not add dressings, because most dressings are very high in fat, unless you're adding vinaigrette, which is great. So you can, there are a lot of cookbooks available right now on plant-based diet. And there's almost a cottage industry of this right now, which have given you a lot of suggestions, including how an Indian can eat. What can you make out of chickpeas? What you can make out of spinach? Instead of paneer, you can have saag with tofu. You can have saag with potato, etc. So though it is understood that when you go to let's say if you're going to go for a party, or you go out to eat somewhere, you will not get the choices. But remember, I've been going out, and I've been on this diet for almost 1.5 years. I have actually never gone hungry in a restaurant. I've actually never gone hungry in my friend's house, because there's always some food out there on the table which will meet my requirements and which I can have a lot of it. And really, every restaurant you go, every party you go, you do have a lot of salads out there.
Correct. So we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
When your family's in need of medical care, where should you turn? Come to Englewood Hospital, home of the most advanced technologies and medical equipment. Home to Magnet Award-winning nurses who deliver compassionate professional care. And home to more top-rated doctors than any other hospital in North Jersey. For your family's health, come to Englewood Hospital. We're closer than you think.
Welcome back. Today we have Dr. Moise Kasubai with us talking about plant-based diet. As you must have heard by now that our traditional thinking of having high protein, having milk, having eggs is not a good idea. And why it's not a good idea, we're going to keep talking why animal protein is so bad. So, the traditional thinking of having milk and protein, and we vegetarians sometimes feel that, oh my God, we lacking protein because we're not having this all meat stuff.
Right.
Why do you think now the studies have come up that shows that this animal protein is bad? Is it because of the way these animals are fed? This is because of the hormones? Is it just in America? Is it worldwide? Is it the protein itself by eating meat, or it's the way it's processed? There are a lot of questions. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's a great question. The present thinking right now is the animal protein per se. It's not what the animals are fed. It's not what the antibiotics that these animals are on, which of course is a different topic itself, which causes, of course, a lot of other diseases. But it's the animal protein itself. This promotes cancer.
Okay.
The exact mechanism of that right now we don't know. But what all as I said, the studies, longitudinal studies have shown that the more amount you have, you land up with these affluent diseases. Mm-hmm. So there was a direct correlation with higher the cholesterol, higher the urea. Urea is a marker in the blood for the amount of proteins that you have, the higher amount of affluent disease you have. And the affluent diseases are heart disease, breast cancer, prostate cancer, liver cancer, high blood pressure, and diabetes. These are the affluent diseases. When you have less of that, you basically are much more healthy. And provided that you're not malnourished, or you have enough good sources of food, and you're not hit by a famine or any infectious diseases, you will live much longer. Mm-hmm. So that has been proven again and again. The other question was, why is animal protein bad overall? Now, this is a very interesting question. Animal protein is just not good for us, but it's good for the planet. And I'll explain that to you. The amount of land used to breed the livestock is about 1/3 of the land at present in the world. We're causing a lot of deforestation mm-hmm. to have pastures, to have the livestock feed. This is adding a great amount of greenhouse gases, which causes, of course, the environmental damage and the climate change, which is all in the news every day. Now, the livestock causes 18% of greenhouse gas emissions, and that is much more than all the transportation in the world. So your cars, your trucks, your ships, your planes, you take all the transportation in the world, but the amount of greenhouse gases from livestock, management of livestock, is much more than all the transportation. That's one point. Secondly, water. Water is very scarce. Mm-hmm. At present, 2 billion people, that's about 1/3 of the population in the world, does not get good water. 1 billion of the population, there is a scarcity of water. Mm-hmm. What does livestock do? Let's pull back a little. You have water usage overall. 10% of water is used in a household. 20% is used in industry. So that's 30%. The rest, 70%, is used by agriculture. 70% of the water is used by agriculture, and majority of that goes in livestock.
Okay.
So for instance, to get 1 kilogram, and this is just used Indian terms, to get 1 kilogram of beef, you need to use 100,000 liters of water. 1 kilogram of beef uses 100,000 liters. While take 1 kilogram of wheat, we uses only 500 liters up to 2,000 liters of water. So that is, we use 50 times more water to get 1 kilogram of beef, which we know is bad, And we just get, so So we're overutilizing water. We're overutilizing the land. We're causing much more greenhouse gas emissions because of using this. We're polluting our rivers. We're polluting our oceans. We have now dead zones in the oceans. And dead zones are where, all the animal products land up in the sea and cause loss of oxygen in the oceans, and which kills all the ocean fish, the plant in the ocean. And this is causing humongous amount of damage to our environment and to our climate. If we all, at some point in the future, stop having animal products, we will reverse climate change. We will make this planet healthier. By making ourselves healthier, we can actually make the planet healthier. And this is a fantastic concept when I really see a great future for plant-based diet, just because it has so much value for the human being, for our children, for our grandchildren, and for the future generations will thank us forever if we really make this change in a big way.
Right. And so the Animal Society and everybody are also with it, because you're not kind of torturing these animals,
Right.
and just growing and making this animal product like chicken harvest and all that stuff. So they have a better lifestyle. They'll exist as animals, not as a part of the food chain here.
Right.
But there are lots and lots of people, they go back and say that our ancestor grew up eating meat. Especially our grandparents and everybody drank milk and butter and ghee. How do we justify them that they were wrong and we are right? It's going to be a tough. Even sometimes the kids are going to ask, because their traditional teaching in school is drink milk and drink yogurt, and if they go back and tell their teachers, they're going to be shocked. What do you tell them?
Coming back to the school, I think it's absolutely right. Once I did tell my kid about how bad proteins are, animal proteins are, and the teacher and his friends did give him a hard time on that. Go back to our ancestors, and they have done a lot of anthropological studies. They looked at what they ate. And how they found out is they looked at between their teeth. Because that's the only, we eat, we masticate, we put our food in the mouth, and that survives. And what they found, they did not find animal protein in between the teeth. They found fiber. Fiber coming from plants. Fiber coming from barley, from oats, from wheat. And this goes back 50,000 years ago, 100,000 years ago, up to 2.5 million years ago. They found that what we were eating was plant-based diet. Now, I'm sure you've heard about it, or if not, there's something called a paleo diet. And paleo diet was that our ancestors ate meat. And the reason they thought that they ate meat was they found that when they dug down next to these civilizations, they found a lot of animal bones which had cuts on it. And they thought, hey, I think this is because we were chopping and cutting the animals and eating them, and hence that's where the paleo diet comes from, is that if we eat, as our ancestors eat, we will be as healthy as they were, which has been proven wrong now. And majority of the anthropologists, these are the people who actually do this, study this in detail, scientifically have proven that we ate fiber, we ate grains, we ate plants, we ate potatoes, and they have found this evidence over and over again in different parts of the world, different civilizations and different times, like as I said, some 100,000 years ago, some 50,000 years ago, some 1,000,000 years ago. So there is a lot of evidence, and it's accumulating, showing that we did not eat animals. Yes, once in a while in a celebratory mode, yes, we did eat. And
at
again,
festivals, at weddings,
and festivals,
in very
right?
limited amounts.
Exactly, in parties and festivals. These days, it seems like we're having a festival every day. We're having a party every day. If you go back to our ancestors, yes, they ate meat once a week because it was not affordable. But presently, meat has become very affordable because, surprisingly, because of our own tax money. Let me explain that to you. There is a farm bill that comes out every 5 years, and the government and the Congress decides that we're going to give subsidies to certain agricultural businesses. So who do they give subsidies to? They give subsidies to the corn industry, to the soybean industry. And where is this corn and soybean used? Corn, we use it as high fructose syrup, which is added in every processed food, which is making us obese. The soy and the corn is also used as animal feeds. And these are actually growing, making the animals well-fed, and hence the meat is becoming cheaper, and we're consuming more of it because it's now cheap.
It's available easily.
It's available easy. Go back 100 years ago, meat was a delicacy. We ate it during festival times, once a year, twice a year, maybe once a week. Maybe the kings ate it once a week, but nobody else. So, I think if you go back and eat as our ancestors did, yes, we will get more healthy.
Also, always the question is asked when we are eating so much vegetables and fruits, and is organic better than not organic? Because now you're eating all these vegetables, you think you're eating healthy, but then you're getting all this insecticides and all this, material that's added in the soil. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a great question. I think at present we really do not know the answer to that. Yes, if you can afford the organic food, yes, you should have it. If you cannot, there are obvious cheaper alternatives available. If you look at pesticides and insecticides, which we feel are added, the fertilizers, for instance, which are added into growing these non-organic food, they do initiate diseases, they initiate cancer, etc. But what promotes the cancer is the animal protein. So if you do not have animal protein, like meat, you don't have eggs, you don't have milk, then very unlikely that this insecticide, the pesticides that you're having, you're ingesting in very small amounts, is actually going to cause any diseases on you. And this hasn't really been proven. So my feeling is right now that, go ahead and eat whatever you have to eat, till then it's not meat and dairy. I know organic has a cost to it, and not very few of us can really afford it on a daily basis. So if you can afford it, eat it. But if you cannot, don't feel guilty about it. As far as possible, do not eat the meat, which will actually promote the cancer.
But organic is slightly better in a way that there's less insecticide and pesticide. And I think the FDA and government is looking into having some sort of standards that organic industry has to meet, about X amount should not be added, and this and so I think they are going to come with some strict regulation rather than people just labeling everything as organic. So hopefully things will move in the right direction. So thank you for coming and taking your time out of your busy schedule, and this was a very informative talk, a very novel idea, and I think time will tell as people start adopting this diet and see the changes. But definitely going back to our big Ramayana, and you see what people used to usually eat you'll see fruits and vegetables and whole grain and legumes. I think that's kind of the way of life, rather than eating too much processed food. And as the time is going, we're seeing more and more people are allergic to all this gluten, and I think it's all this processed food that we are consuming. And we sometimes, if we go back to very simple diet and basic diet, I think we're going to live a very healthy and long life. Good night, till next time.
When your family's in need of medical care, where should you turn? Come to Englewood Hospital, home of the most advanced technologies and medical equipment. Home to Magnet Award-winning nurses who deliver compassionate professional care. And home to more top-rated doctors than any other hospital in North Jersey. For your family's health, come to Englewood Hospital. We're closer than you think.